Welcome to my cabin. Today is snowing. We're supposed to get about 12 to 15 inches of snow today. It's the 8th of April. So I've decided today I would bring you out into I want to call it a fire building. It's not really that. It's just where I keep a lot of my natural tinders and stuff like that for building fires. So I didn't know, maybe you might want to come along and just have a tour of I am a hunter-gatherer. So this is kind of the place where I keep all of my hunting and gathering equipment, as far as knapsacks and backpacks and some of the different tools, saws and axes and stuff like that. But primarily this is a great place for me to store punk wood and stuff like that I have gathered up. I go out, I try to find the best of the best as far as punk wood goes, and the same thing with white birch bark. If I find I actually go out, I take a couple of days and I go out and actually look and harvest white birch bark. I think I am losing my light, so I'm going to have to, this place is lit with a Coleman lantern. That's the hissing that you hear in the background. The tank is going dry. So I will cut this short for a second and I will be right back. Got to put on a new tank. Well, sorry about that. Even with being off the grid, sometimes you still lose the power. The propane lamp ran out of juice, had to change the tank. So anyways, I'm going to give you a little tour of what's in here. I'm obviously not going to go through absolutely everything. This building is 10 feet by 10 feet. It is under this bench is down to the floor with materials that I use on an everyday basis with my hunting and gathering activities, as well as what you see here on the wall. But what I had a few things in here I really wanted to show. Some of the things is stuff that I'm really proud of, because in this state there's one item out here, it's flint. In this state, flint is very hard to come by. I only know of a couple of spots that it may be there. I'm not even sure if that's true or just a myth. But I've gone, looked, couldn't find it. I've just heard stories about flint in this state. So what I did was a few years ago, quite a few years ago, I bought out west somewhere. I got them online, nothing hard to find. I bought 10 pounds of flint. So I'm very happy with my pile of flint. It was very inexpensive. I think it was $4 a pound, plus shipping and handling. So I was able to I ordered a couple of big ones just because I love flint. And I just wanted it to, I'm a nut that way. I like putting my hands on something that's good, solid, been around for a million years. So I bought a couple of big pieces, just kind of for decoration, out here in my shop. I got two big ones. And if I ever needed to, I could chop these up and start having some smaller flint that way. But for me, they're just talking pieces, because I bring people up here once in a while, and if they're interested and they want to learn, I try to go through some of these things as far as fire building and stuff like that, because I really think that fire building and mastering it is one of the most important things that we can do as a sportsman. So I'll move you around just a little bit. Maybe not, maybe we'll see which is easier. This right here is charred. This is finished charred. I have about 5 gallons of this finished charred. What I mean by finished is I've taken and cleaned it up, busted it up into smaller pieces. So I get ready to go hunting or I get ready to go fishing, I can grab a couple of pieces out of here and take with me. I've got a son-in-law that likes to drink it as a tea, and he thinks it's a crying shame that I burn it. He says, "You're not really going to burn all that charred, are you?" Well, a little bit at a time I do. It's one of the things that I go do in my hiking. When I'm scouting for deer, there's not a white birch tree that I go by that I don't look for charred. It's part of our hunt. when we go bird hunting, it's part of our hunt. In the same way with gathering white birch bark. It's just part of our everyday activity up here if I'm going out into the woods. And then I always have a little bag with me, and I bring it home. So that's that. And then over here, I got at least, this is a burlap bag that you can get at any farm store. And this is what I use to store the raw chaga in. There's big chunks in here right off a tree. And when we go out bird hunting, this is some of the stuff that we come home with. Just big hunks of it. Just reaching in. This stuff has still got the shell, needs to be busted up and all that. But this is what it looks like off the tree. So I'm pretty pleased with that. Chaga is a hard thing to find. It's not something that you find on every single tree. So when I go out there, when I come across it, I'm pretty happy. I also keep a healthy supply of fat wood. I normally find it out in the woods, but it doesn't hurt to have it on hand in my building. So that's what I keep in here. The other thing I have out here is lots and lots and lots of good quality punk wood. It's here. I have the wood stove behind me, so I make up my charred punk wood right here in the shop, and then that goes into my day pack or my hunting bag or whatever, and that's how I come by. I'm just going to widen it out a little bit, and you'll get a little better view maybe. But anyways, there's I gather this stuff and bring it back home. It's all part of the hunt as far as I'm concerned while we're out there in the woods. And this right here is my 10 pounds, as you can see in there, 10 pounds of flint. For me, it's like money. I love running my hands through flint. But anyways, flint up here is hard to come by. I'm very jealous of you people that can pick it up off the ground where you live. But when this was delivered in the UPS brought it, and he said, I think your package got broken, because that's just the way it comes. And it was rattling around in there, kind of sounded like broken glass to him. So, but anyways, that's my pile of flint. So between that flint, the punk wood, especially the chaga up there, I have many ways of building fires. So I'm going to shut you off for a minute, and I'm going to dig out some other things that I have here. One of the other things that I do here is I make my own matches. That's kind of where all this learning fire stuff came from. I'm from the older generation, and we remember when you could buy a decent match. They took those off the market several years ago. So it's like anything. They can't take a skill from you. So if you learn how to build fires with many ways, they can't take that away from you. The other thing I wanted to show you while we was here today, speaking of taking things away from you, I'm old enough to remember when they had decent Bic lighters and not. This is the newer one. And the new ones have a little tiny flame on them. No adjustments at all. Here's a Bic lighter from 20 plus years ago. Now that's a flame. That's the difference between what we used to have and what we have now. As far as I'm concerned, this is just about useless out in the woods compared to what we used to have. It's like matches. The matches of years ago were much better than they are now. So this is just a little bit of food for thought about where we came from to where you are now. And that's why I push the skills of flint and steel. That's why I push the skills of chaga and punk wood and all of that. Because what else in the future are they going to take away from you, the sportsman that you are using now? But they cannot take skills away from you. So take the time in your life to learn some of these skills now. I had one more little fire kit that I wanted to share with you before we wrap this video up. This right here is some more of that jute twine that I braided together and is dipped in wax. But this right here is a 308 casing on the end. And what I've done is I've cut the bottom off of that. This isn't an idea that I came up with, so I don't want to take credit for it. I got this off Far North Bushcraft up in Alaska. I like his channel, and I like him. I think he does a pretty good job at explaining himself, and really this is one of his ideas. I can't remember if he had it jute twine waxed or not, but I do know that the casing was his idea. It's just a 308 bullet with the bottom cut off it. Like I said, I believe he was jute twine waxed, but I can't remember. What it's for is it's very hard to blow this out, and what it is, it kind of makes a nice match. So you can get this thing lit, and like I said, then you can go around your campfire with it and light different areas, and it's really hard to blow it out, and it makes a really good little match. So after I watched his video, I liked it. And then to put it out, you just slide the bullet up and the thing goes out. And then you're back to using your fire starters. So with this method, you don't have to cut an inch off. So as you can see, that's about a foot long. I would get a lot of use out of this. And it's very easy to tuck into a small tin for a fire kit. So everything I do revolves around fire somehow, because I think mastering fire, as I've said before, is one of those things that should be high on the priority list. This is still part of the tour of my workshop for hunting and gathering. I just wanted to show you the wood stove over in the corner. Just a little tiny one, but does a nice job of heating this little tiny building. Smokestack goes up and out the wall, nothing fancy. I have a lot of packs hanging on that wall. Different packs for different days, depending on what I'm doing. If you travel up the ceiling a little bit, I have my fish rods hanging from the ceiling. So you can get quite a bit in a small room. If you just pack her in tight, I guess. Standing out by the door. So that's going to wrap this video up today on the tour of my shop out here. If there's anything you saw in here that you have questions about, give me a holler in the comment section, and I will go over it. You probably saw I had some canning jars in here. I got some buckets. Them big buckets you see there, I will do a video on those later on. Those are what I call campsite in a bucket. And what I do is I put them throughout the hunting grounds that I have, and I leave them there. When this snow is gone, I'm going to take a four-wheeler ride out, and I'm going to take you to one of these buckets that has been there for several years. And I will go through what's in that bucket. It's called a campsite in a bucket. I hunt on approximately 30 square miles directly around the cabin here. So I have these little campsites in a bucket spread out all over the place. So this is going to wrap up this video on the tour of my workshop at the cabin for hunting and gathering. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you on the next one.